Now, in Health Focus, around 1 in every 10 patients is harmed in healthcare, and more than 3 million deaths occur annually due to unsafe care. In low to middle income countries, as many as 4 in 100 people die from unsafe care. Uganda does not have well-documented facts on harm in healthcare, but there are known several cases. Audrey Wewambesa has moved on from an incident that she refers to as negligence at the hands of health workers that resulted into cerebral palsy of her son. Here is more in this week's Health Focus.
Patient safety is the absence of preventable harm to a patient and reduction of risk of unnecessary harm associated with healthcare to an acceptable minimum. Unnecessary harm in medical practice could be very detrimental or even fatal. Audrey Wabombesa, a mother of 3, will not forget easily the 20th of May, 2020.
My firstborn was 5 years at that time. He was 5 years older than me, and the firstborn had been a C-section. I had delivered him through C-section. So when I took 5 years, the gynecologist encouraged me and they said 5 years was a long time. There were chances that I could have normal delivery.
Webombesa says the doctor's decision to give birth naturally later turned unsuccessful after she had lost energy due to long waiting hours.
I tried pushing and the baby was not coming. So I heard him saying the maternal effort was low. He rushed out and came back with a midwife, a senior midwife, I guess, because she was a bit elderly. So this midwife also kept encouraging me to push the baby, push the baby. I was using every effort in me to push the baby, but the baby was not coming.
At this point, it turned out into an emergency, and the doctor decided to use a vacuum extractor to remove the baby.
The baby came out, but it had been attached to his head. So when the baby first came out, he didn't cry initially, but the nurses came, the baby's bed was right behind mine, so I couldn't see what they were doing, but they did their work, and the baby cried after some minutes as the gynecologist was teaching me. So when the baby cried, he was taken into the nursery. So later I discovered that was another, I guess, mistake, a full-term big-size baby in an incubator besides the vacuum extractor on this that had kept occurring. And his head was very swollen because of that machine. They made it inserted directly on the head, and their skulls are delicate. So the head was big, swollen. When I asked the doctor, he told me the head will go down.
Webombesa's child, who was of full term, took a drastic decline with all vitals showing signs of ill health.
His chest, like when he would breathe, it would. So I asked them, I kept asking for answers. What's happening? They told me the infection, and then, so basically the condition was now getting really bad. And to that hospital, international as it was, I think only had free flow in terms of oxygen. And they didn't even refer us. Said our child had got a severe brain damage, and the centers which were hit most are the motor nerves in charge of movement. She encouraged us to start physiotherapy, which we did that very day when we were 3 months. Yes, and she told us, of course, she told us the journey is going to be tough, but some make it. So that she also put us on medication to help with the condition, because those infertile spasms, as time goes on, they progress into different things. So we started medication. My son O'Neill started medication that day until today. He takes daily medication. 4
years later, Webombesa was forced to quit her job and take care of her son, who now lives with cerebral palsy.
Currently, O'Neill is battling severe disability. You see his eyes are open, but he doesn't see. He's completely blind. He lost his sight. He can't walk. He's dependent. He can't do anything on his own, apart from, we thank God that he can still swallow on his own.
They did not sue the hospital or health workers that they accuse of negligence.
That debt is very heavy on us. Reliving it in court over and over again is so hard for him. Even up to now, that's a day we do not discuss. Myself and my husband, that is something we don't talk about.
She has opened up a home to offer care to other children with a similar condition.
Where they are loved, where they can live, where they can thrive, but also their parents have a peace of mind. Because I'll be honest with you, where will I take my child? No one, people fear him. That's the honest truth.
However, above 50% of harm, or 1 in every 20 patients, is preventable. Half of this harm is attributed to medications. Common adverse events that may result in avoidable patient harm are medication errors, unsafe surgical procedures, healthcare-associated infections, diagnostic errors, patient falls, pressure ulcers, patient misidentification, unsafe blood transfusion, and venous thromboembolism. Patient harm potentially reduces global economic growth by 0.7% every year. On a global scale, the indirect cost of harm amounts to trillions of US dollars each year. And to ensure that healthcare harm is significantly reduced, the Uganda Medical and Dental Practitioners Council encourages victims or relatives of the affected members to report to them.
It's important to find out what went wrong. Now, in our inquiries, we usually try to find out, was it the doctor? Was it the team? Was it the system where the doctor is working? Or is it the patient? It's important that you bring that to our attention so that together we can work to protect the society. If you stay away for whatever reason, you are actually contributing to further endangering of the community.
The council, which has the powers of court, can give stringent punishments to tighten the noose on the profession.
We've had cases where relatives have come and say, my wife was in labor, I asked them to do cesarean section, they asked for money before we could give money, and that is something that we are seeing quite commonly. The only problem is that it's very difficult to prove that somebody took money. That's a matter for the police. But when we do that, we do pronounce sanctions on the doctor. In this case, we recommend suspension of their license for a period that we can determine.